One thing comes to an end and another one opens. Our last episode of Clayton's Corner, it has been a pleasure to sit down and get all the information possible from you, and it's been awesome to get to know you, but we also have opening day coming up. First of all, it is Saturday. This is coming out on Sunday. How we doing? Where's the headspace? I mean, we're just a couple of days away now.
Yeah, it's starting to feel more real. I think, with spring training here today and tomorrow being the end of it before we get down to Miami. Our group is extremely excited about this part of this camp coming to a close and now getting down and getting the regular season started. So, yeah, I mean, we'll, a couple games today, one tomorrow. Hopefully get everybody, through this thing in a good spot and get ready for Thursday.
What type of emotions do all the cardboard boxes elicit in the clubhouse? There were a lot of cardboard boxes.
Yeah, it's another signal that spring training is almost over, and it's just for us time to move south and get the season going.
Yeah. So we had talked with you last week, and the big sticking point to the final week was health. That has not gone well with Edward Cabrera, Ryan Weathers, and Jesus Sanchez. We'll start with the pitching. What is it going to look like? We know Sandy is going to go opening day against Skeens, but what is to follow or some of the possibilities being talked about?
Yeah, so obviously we'll have Sandy opening day, and then we have Connor Gillespie stretched out. Connor Gillespie's he'll get a start or pitch bulk either the second or third game of the season, and we'll also have someone else that will pitch the alternate game there. So we have and still have a number of guys that have been stretched out that whether they start that game or they pitch them the bulk majority of innings in that game, ready to do that. We'll get to the finish line there with specifically who and where we slot them into game 2 or 3 with Max Meyer to follow game 4. He's going to throw in the exhibition game against the Yankees on Tuesday, which was like kind of his final tune-up, and Cal will get his final tune-up on Wednesday in a sim game and during our workout matched up with Cabrera. So
good news on the Cabrera front.
That's right. Cabrera just threw a little bit off the mound today, just feeling it out for the first time, and I think the finger's in a good place. It's trending. So now it's just about him, getting the workload back up. He'll have that sim game versus Cal on that Wednesday, and then that will hopefully allow him to get out and begin a rehab and make a few starts before he's able to come back.
I want to get to that exhibition in a moment, but that day 3 against the Pirates, Valente Belloso is throwing on Saturday. We're chatting right before he throws. You got a couple other guys that I think are scaling up. Xavier Curry throws at night. Thought Jansen Junk looked really good, so kind of a two-parter. Number one, how does Jansen feel? Obviously, he left with a minor back issue that you guys were going to monitor. And then number 2, who else aside of Valente and maybe Xavier Curry factors into that day 3?
Yeah, I think with Valente, throwing here on Saturday, 5 innings today, so he'll be he'd be an option as being someone fully built up to take down innings for us as well. Jansen's had a great camp. I think we've all been extremely impressed with the quality of his stuff and not only how he's performed. Yeah, unfortunate, the other day just back a little, locked up a little bit, but he seems okay. I think other than that, we would have liked to have probably gotten a few more pitches into the count to have him stretched out, but he's had a really solid camp and he's going to help us this year. Adam Mazur, who was here in camp, is continued to be stretched out. Curry throwing the night game in the split squad, continuing to get built out. So we still, while unfortunate, some of the recent guys that have gone down for a little while, feel like we have a number of pitchers that we've been able to continue to get built up and are able to step in and help cover. On top of like a lot of our relievers, we've got to the point we've been able to get them, 2 innings, some in that 3-inning range where we're going to have some multi-inning options as well to give us some length out of the pen.
So we've been trying to put together the pieces with the pitching rotation. This is my last question on the arms, and then we can get into the Yankee exhibition on Tuesday. Sandy, possibly Connor Gillespie, and then this wrinkle of Edward Cabrera, because we kind of had penciled in Meyer, Gillespie, and Belloso. I mean, how close is Cabrera? He's probably going to miss a turn or two, or where is he at?
Yeah, Cabrera will, as we look now, it'll probably be, around like the 11th of April. So it's, a couple of starts, and we, tell Edward, in all fairness to him, he just, the chance to like actually go and, get built up somewhat, properly.
Sure.
They missed out in spring training. That so when you get back, first time pitching in a major league game, you've had the chance to have, 2-3 outings where you get stressed a little bit. You get the stamina, you build it up some. So targeting, sometime around the, 11th of April, assuming all goes well.
Gotcha. Want to get into the exhibition. Simply put, what's it going to look like in terms of position players? Are they going to play all 9? And then you've got Max. Is he going to go 5?
Yeah, Max he'll go 5, and with his pitch count prescribed that day, similar to how Sandy did in the sim game yesterday. We got up and around 80 pitches, maybe a little bit over, which gets him in a good range for that first start. Position player wise, pushed him pretty hard prior to this previous off day. At most everyone played 9 innings or a couple 9-inning games. They've gone back to back. So since this last off day, backed off a little bit. It seemed like a lot of guys are going to go 3 days in a row for the first time, and somewhat just kind of deload the innings, with each game, but just to get them, hot and out there 3 days in a row before we get going. So the exhibition game, we envision that seeing anyone playing 9 innings, it'll be, splitting it some with, the 13 or so that we have there, and then filling it in with some players from the minor league side.
Gotcha. Do you like the idea of doing an exhibition 2 days before? Do you not? I mean, I guess you can't really say you're not at this point. It's in the schedule.
It's happening.
Yeah. I like the idea of it, and having some experience of where I previously was in LA, we would do that against the Angels and have 3 still spring training games, but they were in a major league stadium. It felt more, more like the season, So I think it'll be exciting for our guys. While that we had those 3 days anyway, we needed to be able to play to do it against another opponent in a major league stadium, kind of similar tune-up for the season. I think it's a good thing.
I remember a couple of years ago when Bobby Miller, the Dodger right-hander, was really coming onto the scene. He looked awesome against the Angels in one of those games that you were playing an exhibition of sorts, and then he started the year with the AAA club in Oklahoma City and then got up. Are you going to have some guys that may start the year in Jacksonville that come with you, and you're going to give them that opportunity to play against the Yankees, and then maybe you ship up to Jacksonville and we'll see you in a couple weeks, couple months?
I think majority, the Jacksonville club is breaking basically the same time we are.
Yeah.
I think more in thought, letting the Jacksonville team go ahead, get themselves settled there and get going, and we're fortunate to have a number of other prospects at our other affiliates that will be a good opportunity for them as well to come, at least come down there and spend a day, be in the clubhouse, get a little bit of a feel and sense for, Lone Depot.
Cool.
So I think that'll be cool for some of those that, get the chance to come up that day.
What have been some of your takeaways as a manager? Obviously, it's your first year and it's spring training. It's going to be completely different from the regular season, but some sticking points you feel you've learned here early on in spring.
The hecticness. I mean, I think it felt like, even when our camp was larger earlier and you had a lot more bodies,
organized
there was
chaos.
a lot of work going on, busy. But I think, as the camp has gone on, just it is just the amount of conversations, we've had to have with guys, and certainly not always pleasant news that, players
Sure.
receiving. I mean, you understand that. The importance of it, just trying to express, a lot of them have had terrific camps, and they've shown in a good way, and that this is such a long season that while opening day becomes such a sticking point for most, it's an important day, but, we know what we're going to require and need throughout the season, and it's, you go down and just continue to, put yourself in a position to perform your way back up. And then now, you get towards the end and start thinking about the season, and there's a whole lot of, thinking about lineups and thinking about, how are we best going to be able to deploy guys in the bullpen. And so those have been, I think the train of thought is kind of shifted that way, a little more so now than just, early on. It's, ensuring guys are playing, and we're, trying to get plate appearances and move the pieces around. So now it starts to get, a little closer to,
All right, need some water here? Let's get him some.
No.
What do we got? Get the manager some water. All right. If you do already have it, you don't have to share it. But as a manager, do you know who's playing? Who's in the lineup for Thursday? Do you know that at this point, or are you guys still having conversations for Skeens?
I think still having some conversations, because the final roster decisions are probably going to come down, when we're in Miami with the exhibition game and whatnot. So there's
That's
a
great.
bit of finalizing to be done.
Yep.
And then at that point, when we have it, when it's solidified and it's a done deal. I think from there, put the finishing touches on what Thursday will look like.
Finishing touches on the big club. I know some guys are starting to find out, and I saw the Marlins social media team put out a great video of you giving the news to Liam Hicks, the Rule 5 pick and the catcher, and this guy hasn't caught a pitch in AAA, and he's going to catch a pitch in the big league, so he made the club. What are those fun conversations like? Because you mentioned the tough conversations, but the fun ones for guys that are going to make their first opening day roster. I'm even thinking about like a Stowers and a Conine as well. These are really important conversations for them as big leaguers.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot that bucket, yeah. Right? It's crazy. Liam was special, and then for Joe Singley, being there as well. Him and Joe,
that was his guy.
Yeah, yep. They have put in like such high quality work.
When did he get here?
It was early January.
Yeah, and
he's been on this, on this receiving train and all catching aspects for. I mean, he was going hard for 5 or 6 weeks before we started. And we've seen the progression that he's made. And yes, does Liam still have a long ways to go? Of course. But the rate of improvement that he's shown gave us a lot of confidence throughout this camp that, in combination with, we feel like a high quality at bat that he's going to provide, and the way he can control the strike zone, hit from the left side, that Liam earned his, he earned his spot on this roster, and it was a cool, to share that with him. And guys then go call their families and hey, you got to get down to Miami. This is happening, and so big deal for him.
And real quick on Liam, we had a great bite from Cal Quantrill. He went out of his way in his media availability to say, and I've got to give a ton of credit to Liam Hicks. He did an outstanding job calling the game and has had a great feel for such a young player.
Yeah, and that catching position now has probably never been more difficult. It's just the nuances of calling a game and, understanding your pitcher's strengths. You got to layer in the hitter some. What are the what are the objectives going into that game and how to best maximize it, and having some feel within the game of when to pivot in the situation. So it's a very difficult thing to do as you're also learning, and catching a higher caliber of, pitcher than you ever have. So we've seen a lot of growth in that regard. And, Daniel Moscas and Alon Leishman, the time they've spent between innings and between games with Liam, I think is paying off, and it was great to hear Cal say that. Cal's a very cerebral, guy, and likes to have, I'm sure, like most guys, get into a rhythm and have an idea of how one pitch influences the next and where he's going to go. So for him to say that, kudos to Liam, then, it's coming.
Clayton, a lot of managers at the big league level like to have some fun with guys when they're going to make a big league roster. I've seen it. A lot of AAA managers like having some fun with guys when they're getting that first big league call-up. Do you feel comfortable yet doing the deadpan, like, hey, man, I've got bad news, and then breaking the news, or not yet?
I mean, it has been the situations or path guys have been on,
deadpan may not work.
It's hard.
It's
it's a real thing, man.
You just kind of, it starts off a little bit more, the tone is a little bit more,
stern,
conversational, talking about, how are things going? And then it's like, hey, we're counting you to do the same thing in Miami. And then they're kind of like, oh, really? Oh, okay. And then you just see, when you see the emotion, come out of them. Yeah. Then it hits you even more how significant and important that is. Veneziano and, Connor Gillespie. So it's cool to see, them at that point kind of let their guard down and you realize how cool this is to be able to be the one to share that with them.
What have you been doing when you come out to make a pitching change? Knuckle and then pat on the behind? What do you say? You say, good job. What if I gave up 8 runs and didn't record an out? Would you come out and go hit the shower to go get them next time, Steven?
Ooh, but take the ball. Hey, there'll be better days. Pat him on the back.
I know A.J. Hinch, the Tiger skipper, he does knuckle bump if he's not taking a guy out, and then handshake if he is taking a guy out. So he was talking Skubal would try and walk to the other side of the dugout to avoid the handshake. Are you going to have some of that going on?
You're going to have to go chase Sandy down.
Let me
all these guys
in the weight room.
Where are you running off to?
Yeah.
No. Yep. Take the ball and and when guys finish an inning and they're out, just a handshake and great job, and or hey, keep going, you get another one, let's go.
Are you superstitious or no? We had Connor Norby and we asked him about what he does. He takes off his cleats and his batting gloves. He strikes out once.
That doesn't surprise me, Connor. Huh? I don't. You know what? I probably will. There's a good chance I don't know if I'm superstitious.
Okay.
But if I'll wear the same socks maybe.
Okay.
The next day. The same undershirt.
Okay.
Same shoes.
Sure.
Potentially. So
We'll keep an eye
I guess
out.
that makes me superstitious. Maybe not.
I guess. Do you go through it with facial hair? Like, are you going to let it grow a little bit if you guys are on a winning streak and things like that, or no?
No, right now it's out of just pure laziness. I have it tightened up for opening day, all right? Sorry.
Good, man. I was just thinking, hey, you know what? You're here at 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. every day, so I totally get it.
Yeah, I'll get it cleaned up, and that's mine more than it's not a great look, I don't think. So I'll try to keep it cleaned up during the season. But you know what? If I forget what happens? You forget for a few days, then it's been 3, it's been 4,
Yeah.
it's been 5, and then it just kind of makes it tougher then to.
You guys have that problem.
I'm right there with you.
27. I still can't grow any. I got this soul patch right here, but that's about it. What else? Go ahead, Jack. I got one more after for
I think that's it.
outside of
You got
baseball,
it.
but now I forgot.
Oh,
so
nice.
you got to just stall for me.
No, I'm good. Hey, well,
All right, let me ask you, what are you guys most excited about for opening day?
it's my first.
Okay.
I'm really excited for that. And I think, I was just chatting with Tommy Hutton as well, I think we've got the best starting pitching matchup in Major League Baseball that day. I know Skubal is seeing the Dodgers, and that's Skubal Yamamoto, but, I mean, Skeens and Sandy, especially with the intrigue of Sandy Alcantara, I don't think there's a game that matches up with that. So, should get a lot of eyeballs. Do you have your question now? Or what?
Yeah, I do. And it was funny because I was going to say, I asked you last week, come with a question for us because we're always asking you, and you just did, so it was perfect.
It was great.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Sandy is the main story, I think, for opening day. But I think it's just interesting to get a group that you have that is all fighting for respect and all here to prove that they can play at this level. And I think there's something to be said when you get a group like that are all on the same page. That is pretty strong. I don't know if it equals X amount of wins, X amount of losses, but I think there's something there in a clubhouse where, even though there's not a quote-unquote veteran outside of Cal or Sandy, a collective will, a collective urgency every day that could maybe bode well.
Yeah.
Fair?
I would agree. I think they're very eager to go out and I think go
Prove it.
go show and prove it, and maybe the capabilities, and think less. The outside noise is just going to be what it is the whole year, and what can we do about that? But go try to play better, and go try to each night go try to win.
Yeah. Totally agree. Good. Who's your favorite broadcaster growing up? Did you have a broadcaster? Did you listen to any radio?
I mean, growing up, the Braves games were always on.
Yeah.
TBS was, or you had WGN with the Cubs. So you had Harry. That's probably. Fortunate to be and see, Vince Scully, and still, hear him on the, before the game. It's time for Dodger baseball.
Great guy.
That voice, yeah. So that's pretty cool. I was a Braves fan. That's kind of all you had to watch.
Fair enough.
Steve Stone, maybe.
Yeah.
Steve
Wasn't always
Stone.
on there.
Good pitching mind, Stoney.
Yeah.
I'm getting emotional here. I'm not ready for this to end. I'm not going to lie, but it has to because you got to go do work. I got to go call a game. Jack's got to go call a game, and I guess this is it. Thank you so much for the entire spring. Maybe if we can continue the camera crew, Jason with us, Vic with us, maybe we can do this during the regular season if you're up for it.
I'd be all up for it. You guys are great. Thanks a lot.
Good job, Clayton McCullough, Clayton's Corner, Jack McMullen, Steven Strom. March 27th, Skeens, Sandy, Pirates, Marlins, Flo Rida post-game contra, Luis Fonsi. What else? Dan Marino's first pitch. I mean,
great.
it's gonna be a fiesta.
Tickets
There's no
available at marlins.com. Always plug it.
That's why he's here. Thanks for listening.